G'day and welcome to another edition of the Aussie Ideas Man. I wanted to do this as soon as I saw it for the first time because it just looks like the cretin is doing the same old thing every time. His method hasn't changed much, and this is so much more interesting than the reviews of people in the live stream. I had a feeling he wasn't going to do any more because all that was left was, let's see, some guy doing a little model that would fit in a shoebox and some girl that was making a new APTERA website, neither of which were progressing the APTERA itself. And of course, I knew he wasn't going to say anything about the In-N-Out burger run. But anyway, this one's interesting because the title is APTERA Italia has been very busy, and for the life of me, I cannot see any evidence that they have been very busy. And so I'll just run through, and as an idea pops in my head, I'll stop and tell it. Naturally, of course, intelligent comments are welcome.
Hello everyone, it's Steve with APTERA Owners Club. In this video, I want to talk more about APTERA Italia. You guys remember about 2 months ago, I put out this video about what's going on with APTERA Italia. It looked like their address, if you looked at APTERA Italia's address in the registry, it coincided with the address of this group called the Motor Valley Accelerator. They're kind of a company that helps startups get going in Italy, and they had a portfolio of startups they were helping out. And then Steve Fambro did reply to us on this video, and he said, "You're kind of correct." Let's see. What do I do here? Hold on. Okay, he said, "You're kind of correct. We share a small office and mailing address at the Motor Valley Accelerator location. They did not invest in us, nor are they incubating us like other companies. They were simply kind enough to let us rent a small office space from them." Okay, so
I'm going to make some comments here to begin with. First of all, it sounds as though there wouldn't be more than 3 desks. There could be as little as 1 that they were sharing in this office space. So APTERA Italia is going to be very small by way of number of employees. When Steve Fambro has spoken recently on other sites, he has virtually added what sounds like about 10 or 12 extras, maybe even twice that. Just the way he talks about the number of employees in Italy. For a CEO to be so vague about number of employees, there is something fishy going on. But in any case, we've got now a video from the cretin that is claiming that APTERA Italia has been very busy. Let's see what the evidence shows. I'll also add that when Steve Fambro commented here, saying that they have not had any investment from the people at that address, he also neglected to indicate that there was anything going on. And now, all of a sudden, we find out they've been very busy. Why didn't Steve Fambro actually tell us what they were doing if they were doing something?
So that's what's going on. So that was kind of clarified there by Steve Fambro. Really appreciate having Steve come on our channel and give us feedback and the word from the horse's mouth, so to say. So thank you, Steve. But I looked up recently, and there's been another article published in La Repubblica, which is a newspaper in Italy that's been around for 50 years. So pretty.
The first thing I notice is that Repubblica has a double B in it, and I don't think a newspaper should be misspelling words. Republic only has 1 B, and I can't imagine why an extra B would be added, only that it might be that these people have no idea what they're doing to begin with, and this is a good sign.
Well-known newspaper. And this is just Google Translate because obviously this is in Italian, not in English. So I use Google Translate. So some of the wording might be a little awkward because it's Google Translate, but it made sense to me when I read it. So APTERA Motors focuses on Italy to produce solar electric powered vehicle investments of 100 million euros. Okay, so at first I thought, wow, did they get investments of 100 million euros from Italy? That turns out not to be the case. So we can read it together. An investment exceeding 100 million euros with the aim of reaching an annual production of approximately 20,000 vehicles for a direct employment impact of over 400 employees and turnover volume exceeding 500 million euros. Period. So that's what it sounds like they've gotten. But These are the number of the investment that APTERA Motors aims to make in Italy, for which the company is benefiting the support of the Ministry of Enterprise Made in Italy, MIMIT. And then it kind of talks about what APTERA is. So basically what it's saying is that APTERA is looking for or is planning to invest 100 million euros. And if you look at these numbers, this looks very familiar. 20,000 vehicles a year. That is the projected full production capacity of a single APTERA factory. That's what they're hoping to produce out of Carlsbad when it's in full steam. So it looks like APTERA is planning on building another factory in Italy. And if this is true, they believe this factory will require about 500 workers. That seems like
That's the one that really stands out as being really over the top. 500 employees. Once again, recently Steve Fambro has been talking on another side and saying that they don't need too many employees. I don't look up what I heard, so I have to be vague about it. But I think he was mentioning in the ballpark of about, I don't know, 80 employees, something like that. And so if he's talking about 80 employees and being efficient, he goes on, spruiking all sorts of efficiencies done by Toyota and other places. But if he's talking about being efficient and uses roughly 80 employees as an example, then 420 more is completely over the top. I believe that this article is just more snake oil and can't be believed.
a lot of workers. So if this is all like I don't know if this is all manufacturing employees or they're planning on having engineers and administrative staff there, but that's way more people than I thought it would take to run the APTERA factory. I mean, I don't know why I thought this, but I was thinking like 50 people or maybe 100 people, but it's 500 people. So that's kind of surprising. All right, so it says to support the investment program and the project it's established itself in Italy, APTERA supported by, okay, I'm going to butcher all these Italian words, Iniziativa Cube, a strategic and financial advisor, with a team coordinated by Marco Messina and Rosario De Maio, in addition to Tyber International in collaboration with Amato Avocati for legal aspects. Okay, so then they talk more about APTERA, and then this is kind of the most important part of the whole thing. So this is Steve Fambro being quoted by this newspaper. The APTERA vehicle, says Steve Fambro, co-founder and co-CEO of APTERA, has a strong Italian soul, deeply integrated into the National Motor Valley, with approximately 60% of its components and supplies coming from Italian suppliers, including CPC, CoStamp, as well as a close collaboration in the R&D field with Pininfarina for the optimization of the aerodynamic aspects of the vehicle. This bond with Italy has pushed APTERA management team to strongly commit to our country with the support of the Italian government, in particular of MIMIT. Remember, MIMIT is the Ministry of Enterprise and Made in Italy.
It's hard to get a word in edgewise, but I've stopped it here because it is a joke to say that they're in close collaboration with Pininfarina. All they did was a staged session in the wind tunnel where they doctored the vehicle and then didn't give the results. It was a photo op to get money from people. That's not close cooperation with Pininfarina. I would like to know what Pininfarina actually think of this mention.
With the aim, okay, so this is important, with the aim of establishing a high efficiency and high tech production plant in southern Italy. Now, if you guys don't know, southern Italy is the more economically depressed part of the country compared to northern Italy. Northern Italy has most of, like, it has Milan, and much of the financial strength of Italy is in the north. It's kind of like how like the southeast in America is, and like Appalachia is more economically depressed, and the coasts are pretty are the more wealthy parts of the country. So they want to establish more economic activity in the southern part of Italy. So that makes sense that Italy wants to do that. Now, let's take a look a little bit at what this is. So this is the Ministry of Enterprises Made in Italy.
So here he goes one more article to divert one's attention and distract them from the fact that nothing's being done by that APTERA Italia little team that we don't know exactly how small it is.
This, if you look at this, that's basically like that Italy's version of the U.S. Department of Commerce. They are a ministry they want to promote economic activity and manufacturing in Italy. And if you look at this at the very bottom, it says access to finance, and I believe that's where APTERA is most interested in. So there's all these funding sources from MIMIT, and you can get capital assets. So this is they're trying to get small, micro, and medium-sized enterprises, which APTERA would qualify for, and you can apply for this. You can apply for incentives for businesses to expand. You can help them. They can help you create cooperatives. They can have guaranteed funds for small and medium-sized enterprises. So lots of access to different. This is kind of interesting. Businesses previously confiscated receipts from organized crime. As you guys know, southern Italy still has a decent amount of organized crime activity, and so they have businesses previously confiscated or seized from organized crime. That's kind of funny to me to see that as like an actual part of their finance options. But anyway, they have like grant options, helping buy equipment options, helping to lease business location options, as well as a bunch of debt options, so subsidized loans, that kind of stuff. And then I looked at this Tyber International, which is the other group they're working with. Now, at first, I was a little confused because if you say contact us, they are based out of Washington, D.C. So if you look at that, they're at 1300 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. But I should have known from like the name Tyber International. So Tiber is the river that runs through Rome. That if you look at who we are, this is essentially an Italian group, even though they're based out of Washington. If you look at the names here, you can tell that these are Italian names. So they are an international group that helps businesses look for opportunities around the world to expand their business, and that's kind of what they're helping with. And if you look at their senior legal advisor, that actually is the same person that runs this Amato Avocati law firm, and you can see here there's this exact same picture. So this is Mr. Amato. He is the founder. So he's helping them. So APTERA has kind of partnered with multiple people. This is the Cube Iniziativa Cube. This is another company that
Must be about 7 or 8 different articles he's switching to. So fast this time. But what has APTERA Italia done? If I were to look at the relationships with these people who are trying to help them get finance, I would think that it would have to be done by the CEOs, those CEOs from Carlsbad, California. I don't believe APTERA Italia, what handful of people that are there in a little office, can handle this sort of negotiation. It must have CEO involvement. But the cretin isn't even saying that APTERA Italia has done these things, has made these negotiations, has contracted with people to find money for them, much like US Capital has been contracted to find money for Carlsbad. But even that's a furphy because no money has been found as yet. Nothing is real yet. All promises, promises. But to date, we're 3/4 of the way through his article, and we have no proof that APTERA Italia was even involved in these negotiations.
basically helps support enterprises, and they want to help people that are doing good things for the environment, and that's kind of the goal of this Tyber International too. They're kind of a socially conscious group. They want to help projects that are about energy efficiency and environmental protection and renewables and sustainability, that kind of stuff. So you've got this group, and this is the law firm that they work with, as well as this Cuba International. They are basically they're helping out. And if you look at their team, this is Marco Messina. He's the partner that's helping, as well as Rosario De Mayo. So these two are the ones named in the article as helping out with the APTERA project. So that seems very exciting that APTERA is, this is stuff that APTERA isn't talking about, but they are definitely working these other angles, trying to find other funding. And it does look like their plan is to set up a factory. I don't know if this is a second factory, third factory, fifth factory, 10th factory, but they are planning on setting up a factory in southern Italy. And if you look at this group, this Cuba International, you'll see that most of these guys are from the area of Naples. So Naples, Naples, Naples. So I think that's their connection. These people want to help people build up the economic infrastructure in southern Italy. And they see APTERA as a way of doing that. And so they're helping APTERA. And then APTERA obviously sees this as a good way of finding funding to expand. And it makes sense for them to set up a factory in Italy. That was not one of the countries that was mentioned in any of the interviews. But it just makes sense. A lot of the parts come from Italy, and they have a deep connections to Italy through CPC. So it makes sense to set up a facility in Italy. And so that seems like that is the plan. And that's probably the similar angle they're going with in the UAE.
The cretin is very naive. He looks at something, has a strange way of putting two and two together by running around looking for all sorts of articles that don't prove that APTERA Italia has been very busy, and then creates a clickbait title to make all the gullible APTERA disciples think that APTERA Italia has been very busy. There are some things to consider. First of all, that Californian grant, I'm sure it came with stipulations. I'm sure that it had necessary Californian content, both in materials produced and workers used. And if they're going to go out to Italy, they're going to break those stipulations. I don't believe APTERA can do this without losing the rights to what the grant had imposed upon them, without losing the conditions that the grant had imposed on them. And so they may be in danger of losing the grant money. But the other thing that is a little more obvious to me, I can't prove it, but for entertainment value, I'm going to entertain you with this thought, is that once again, this is another overseas venture. And because it's an overseas venture, money flowing out of the country is much easier to lose. And as I say, lose just to manipulate. To have claims that X amount was spent overseas and less than that was spent, and some of it had gone into brown paper bags. This is an easy part of Ponzi schemes, is to move money far enough and wide enough and often enough to lose track of every cent that is being spent. And especially in Italy, southern Italy, when we are about as close as we can get to the centre of the mafia's operations. Who knows but that they have actually started to do business with mafioso organisations. Isn't that entertaining? But let's just get back to the facts. We have an article from the Cretin here that is about APTERA Italia being very busy. And what do we know about that? We know absolutely nothing. All of these articles that he's thrown up have no connection with APTERA Italia being very busy. Not in the slightest. There's no connection at all. We don't know how many there are. Steve Fambro doesn't even tell us how many there are, not in any clear manner. And we don't know what they've done, if anything.
Did not find anything about the UAE, so I don't know if anything's happening there or not. But there is definitely a lot of stuff happening, and they've engaged a lot of partners in Italy. So that's pretty cool. All right, just letting you know what's going on with APTERA Italia. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.
Notice this time he doesn't say, let me know what you think in the comments. I've got a feeling he really doesn't want to know. He's just hoping he can pull the wool over your eyes one more time. Well, that's all for me. Bye for now. Stay safe.